Newly elected Vice President of the Guyana Olympic Association, Godfrey Munroe, is hoping to utilize his new role to help the development of sports.
One of the things I'd like to advocate is to use the collective capacity of all the council members of the Olympic family in the sense of formulating into committees, whether it's developmental, marketing, revenue generation. Because I know a lot of people look and say, well, yes, the Olympic Association gets 136 million, but is that enough to fund 23 sports? Realistically, I don't think so, because our budget for this school program alone, if we were to implement it, it's true, will actually consume about half of that. Yeah, so we have to look at other ways of supplementing that. One of the other things is twinning with other international Olympic committees where we can find support and have good relations with to extend training opportunities for our young athletes.
Munroe also highlighted that he intends to use every possible means afforded to the GOA to improve sport while changing the image of the GOA as well.
There's a lot of programs on the IOC provision that you can benefit from support from. I think we need persons with the skills and using the collective capacity of each other to drive these programs to have sports for all, development of national sports structure, women in sports provision that is much more meaningful and impactful. I think Mr. Yassin in our first engagement has indicated that he wants to remove that shroud of maybe perceived secrecy around the association and be more engaging with it. Well, I wouldn't say a thing, but I think a lot of times, the Olympic family saw themselves as more locked in based on their role and so on. But, more and more in the world we required as leaders to ensure that we disseminate information and become more accessible because, the public wants to know we're accountable. Yeah. So lots of things planned, lots of ideas from my engagement in executive masters in sports and so on that I like to put on the table, hopefully for adoption and implementation.
Nevertheless, Munroe projected that the 2020 Olympics will be a tough target for Guyana to gain an Olympic medal.
4 years doesn't give you enough time to really plan for athletes if you don't have the framework domestically to move your sports teams or athletes beyond that, because it requires over 10,000 training hours at the elite level to make Olympics. And if you calculate an athlete training 250 days out of 365 at 4 or 5 hours a day, which I don't think any one of our athletes are able to make, calculated by 250 by 5, it's just 1,000 hours and you require 10,000 hours. You can't make that in 4 years. So the goal of 2020 for us might be a little one that is not realistic, maybe aiming for 2024, something like that, and setting more realistic targets.
Meanwhile, Munroe is of the belief that a succession cycle is needed for the junior athletes since Guyana is flooded with talent at that level.
There's the other aspect which we're strong in is the junior level, and there's junior Olympic cycle sports, whether it's at the Commonwealth, whether it's at the Olympic level, and that's something that why we need to have each association having developmental programs so that we could be producing a wide range of athletes that will be able to make qualification standards at the Junior Olympic. And that's a good measure as to, if you're having qualifiers and prospects for medals, there's a natural progression onto the Summer Olympics. So I think there's a lot of gaps, in our whole structure that requires to be something, but I think it requires a collective input of all stakeholders, media, corporate, government, Olympic, national federations and associations.
Munroe, who is also the president of the Guyana Table Tennis Association, was instrumental in developing a detailed school program for the racket wielding sport. His infusion into the GOA might be just what the doctor ordered for the association that has been anything but successful at the Olympics. Tristan Joseph, Newsroom Sport.